Hey folks, I'm Tori, this is Bass Strategy, and it's time for June favorites. Well, June is over, and at the end of every month, I like to take a look back at that month that just passed and take a look at some of the gear that I used that really stood out and take a look forward into the coming month. So June, if I were to describe it, it was hot and cold, and I mean literally. The temperature, we had some record high temperatures this month. The water temperatures right now are a lot higher than they normally are this time of year because we've had some really hot weather, not only this month, but in May as well. And that was surrounded also by some record low temperatures. So it's really been weather-wise up and down. We've had a lot of rain. I think looking back at 2020, I only had the rain gear on, I think, one time. And this year I've had it on 3 times already. So weather this year so far, and in this month particularly, the month of June that is, has been all over the map. And it's made for some really interesting fishing and some surprises along the way as well. So looking back, the lure of the month, it really is a no-brainer. It's going to have to be this Strike King Cut R worm. And that's because I went out there a couple weeks ago in June and just had a great day on that lure. Nothing else was really working, but they were feeding on the bottom. It was a crayfish bite, and this little green pumpkin cut R worm, they just went at it. So definitely a great little Ned rig worm, and this little rage tail kicking along at the bottom, I think, really mimicked crayfish in trouble, looking up and giving that little aggressive action. I paired that with the Picasso Rhino head, and something that really stood out for me this month with this Rhino head, I mentioned it last month as well, that this was a pretty, I like this design, this hook design for the Ned rig, but I noticed that when I am setting the hook with this Ned head, this design with that little point that comes up and around, a lot of times I will set the hook and that point will come up and catch itself on the edge of the lip and kind of straddle the lip and hold that hook in place. So right now, with the water temperatures up into the mid-70s, the fish are jumping and they're very aggressive and jumping out of the water a lot. And so obviously you're more prone to that bass throwing whatever lure is in its mouth. But when this head hooks over the lip like that, it makes it really hard for them to throw. It just kind of wedges itself in there. And a lot of, I would say half of the bass I caught were hooks like that. Now, I wasn't sure if that was a feature of this hook, so I went and I did some research on it, and it is not advertised as a feature. You can't really depend on it. It's not every single time that you hook them that way, but I notice it happens often enough that I'm really impressed with it, and I would highly recommend you give it a try if you are into Ned rig fishing, especially this time of year where they're jumping several times before you can get them into the boat. So one of the techniques I wanted to focus in on this year was the topwater, and I love the popper, and I have a whole dedicated setup just for the popper. I throw it every year, but I really wanted to branch out a little bit more and try some other topwater techniques, and I kind of zeroed in on walk the dog as a technique, and I picked up a couple of different lures, and I got a chance to try them out this month, and one that really stood out was the Lucky Craft Gunfish. This is the junior size, and it's kind of right between a popper and a walk the dog bait. And I just love the action. It was really easy to walk, and it also at the same time spit the water, almost kind of like a spitting popper, and maybe just a little bit of a sound to it as well. It does have a rattle in it, just a big loud rattle. And the one thing I did to modify this was just take out that middle hook. It usually comes with 3 hooks. For me personally, I didn't really want another treble hook in there. I didn't think I needed it. and I didn't. I caught a bunch of fish on it this month, and of all of the new topwaters that I tried, that was really the one that stood out to me, so definitely check that one out. Now, I try to always bring my camera out with me when I'm fishing, but I don't always do it. You know, sometimes you just got to get out and do some fishing. I just like to get out and by myself and just take a few casts. And a lot of times this month after work, I would go out and I was throwing the buzzbait. And I actually have had this buzzbait for a few years now, but I haven't thrown it the last couple. And you know, I saw it in my tackle box and I said, oh, I'll give it another try. And I was really surprised. This is the Heartbreaker Quad Buzzbait. It's got a plastic quad buzzer on there and a clacker. And what I really liked about this buzzbait was the sound it was making. It really hummed, like almost like a tree frog. It just, I never heard, and I'm not a huge buzzbait fisherman, but I have thrown them several times before, and the other buzzbaits that I have don't make a sound quite like this. It has a really unique humming sound. And with that quad blade on there and that clacker, it's just really noisy and just, it's just a great buzzbait. It's actually a little bit difficult to find. It's not on Tackle Warehouse. It's not at Bass Pro Shops. I don't even know where I got it. I had to look it up online. I spent some time trying to find it, what it was called, but I did remember it had something to do with heart, because on the back of the head there is a little heart. So I finally found it. It's a company called Heart Tackle, and they just call it the Heart Breaker Quad Buzzbait. So if you're into buzzbait fishing, definitely give this one a try. It's just that sound is so unique. So the other highlight I wanted to point out for the month, I gotta shout out my rain gear. There were some rainy days out there, and the rain jacket and pant combo that I have are just frog togs, and I'm talking the basic frog togs. They were, I think, $45, and it comes with a jacket, a set of pants, and a little carry bag. Now, is it the best rain jacket? No. But it gets the job done. It's kind of, the material is kind of like a non-woven shopping bag almost. So it's kind of stiff, and it's not meant to be, if you're out on the water all the time fishing in the rain, you might want to spend a little bit more money on a better rain jacket. But if you're like me, and you don't go fishing out in the rain a ton, maybe a handful of times a year, you don't need to spend mega bucks on a high quality rain jacket pant combo. The frog togs are great, and they definitely get the job done, and I've had this set for a number of years. You know, again, I only use them a few times a year. Now, I don't end up fishing in the rain a lot, because for me, there's a sweet spot with the rain. You know, my boat doesn't drain water, so if it's a real heavy rain, I really can't fish for too long without having to bring my boat to the shore and manually dumping the water out. So there's kind of a little sweet spot of just kind of a rain, drizzle, off and on style rain that I can get out and do some fishing. So for me, these frog togs work really well. So normally I like to do my special thanks and special no thanks of the month award. Nothing really popped up this month. I didn't really have a lot of interactions with people this month. Definitely can't not thank anybody. I didn't have any negative interactions, and I just not a whole lot happened. So I don't really have a special thanks or a special no thanks of the month. So let's just jump right in and look forward into July. And so last month I did a focus on the creature. I thought June was going to be a big month for the creature. That didn't really work out so well. I didn't end up using the creature a whole lot. The bite just wasn't where I thought it would be. So looking forward into July, I'm going to give the focus onto the finesse worm. It was between the finesse worm and the tube. Last year in July I did really well on the tube. But this year, for some reason, I'm thinking the finesse worm is going to be the lure spotlight of the month. So we'll see how that goes. Well, that is going to do it for June favorites. I hope you liked this video. If you did, give me that like and consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.